In today's video, we're going to start out with footage from the motion hearing that took place right before the trial started with Mr. Yannetti, and things get heated, so let's get right into it.
That's why we're here, Mr. Yannetti.
Thank you. I'd like to start with the most outrageous and false assertion that the Commonwealth made in its motion.
Can I just ask you, there's no jury here, can I just ask you how long this is going to take?
Between 5 and 10 minutes.
Okay. Because I don't need, the hyperbole.
Your Honor, I need to make my argument in the way that I think is most effective for my client. I will keep this brief and succinct, but I have points to make that I need to put on record.
Okay, and I'm the person you are trying to convince, correct?
I understand that. The Commonwealth, in a public filing, wrote the following on page 3 of its motion. Quote, during a pretrial hearing on February 15th, when asked by the court whether there was any dispute about a canine's involvement or canine DNA, Attorney Yannetti indicated no, and that the defense was not pursuing such claim. I was astounded to read that for 2 reasons. First of all, it is false. It is a lie. Second, the Commonwealth has knowingly lied about something where it's easily verifiable that they lied. We pulled the tape from February 15th.
I don't have that.
I'm sorry?
I don't have that in my motion.
It's on page 3, Your Honor.
I have the Commonwealth's renewed motion for reciprocal discovery, a motion to exclude defendant's expert, Dr. Marie Russell. I don't see your name at all, Mr. Yannetti. I'm on page 3.
Sorry, it's not page 3, it's page 4. My apologies. My name is right there on page 4. It says exactly what I just argued to the court. It's about the 5th line down. It starts during a final pretrial hearing on February 15th, exactly as I said.
Okay.
All right? We pulled the tape from that February 15th hearing. Here is what was actually said. This court asked me the following. Quote, while we're talking about DNA, Mr. Yannetti, do we need to be concerned about canine DNA? Where do we stand with that? I replied, no, I think this is the only outstanding DNA issue. The court then replied, okay, so all right, we're not dealing with canine DNA. And I said, no. There is nothing in there, contrary to what the Commonwealth has represented to this court in a public filing, that I said there was no canine involvement. There is nothing in there, contrary to what the canine represented to this court and to the public, that the defense was not pursuing such a claim. Can you imagine the nerve of the Commonwealth to spin that into...
This is the hyperbole I don't need. Could you please get to the point?
Your Honor,
we've got a jury coming in 15 minutes.
I understand, but this is...
I like how she interrupts him to tell him that there's a jury coming in, but pick up the pace. Like, they're not going to come just flying into the courtroom. You have to call them in, Judge Beverly. It's so annoying.
But this is, my integrity has been attacked. There have been allegations of bad faith that has been attacked, and I need to defend myself and my client. We were only discussing at that time whether canine DNA was still outstanding, and I succinctly replied, no. And they've spun that, or tried to spin that, into a claim that we're somehow waiving our right to argue that John O'Keefe's arm injuries were consistent with a dog attack. And I ask you, have they no shame? I'm sure it's not lost on this court that this false filing by the Commonwealth comes on the heels of their nefarious attempt to pass off an inverted video, a false video, before this good jury hearing this case. Never once during the direct examination of Sergeant Buchanan did they inquire or mention the fact that the video...
Can we please... All right, I'm going to stop you. Please direct your comments to Rule 14 and the reciprocal discovery obligations that the defense has. That's what this motion is. I know you have a speech you want to make, Mr. Yannetti.
It's not a... Your Honor, most respectfully, it's not a speech. It's
so...
a defense of being alleged to have committed bad faith.
So you've moved on from that. So please just focus on Rule 14, and let's do it in 2 separate parts. So you've changed. You're not calling Frank Sheridan,
no,
right?
No, we are calling Frank.
Miss Beverly was pretty huffy during that and whole exchange. So let's move on to the trial for the day. So Today will be review of trial day 22. We'll finish off testimony of Sergeant Yuri Buchanan, and then we're going to move on to Trooper Micheal Proctor. Mr. Jackson attempted to get Mr. Buchanan to agree that the footage was actually not an accurate depiction of the footage from the Sally port because of its inversion, but Yuri refused to agree with that. They went on to talk about the missing time in the footage. Sergeant Buchanan said there isn't missing time, and that the footage is recorded by motion triggering. So that is his reasoning for why there's missing time in the footage. And I think it's quite interesting too that they didn't mention this yesterday. Yesterday, Yuri was on the stand. Mr. Lowley questioned him about this, and not at any time during that questioning did this get brought up. So I think this was another little thing that was added after the fact. Since court ended yesterday, we came today, and now we have an answer. I mean, we don't know if that's true, if this is really motion detected. You could be telling the truth, you could be lying, who knows? Right now, this is what's been presented to us, and you make what you want with that. And so they also played more footage from another camera angle from the Sally port, and there is actually 42 minutes of missing time.
Sergeant, did you see what was depicted on the video that just ran from 5:07 and a few seconds until it was just paused?
I did watch the video.
And how much time would you estimate elapsed as we just watched that video in real time?
15 seconds, maybe.
Okay. And do you see something?
It appears that the SUV has now pulled into the Sally port, and there's an individual standing behind the SUV.
And of course, Mr. Buchanan's response was, it's not missing. That was the finished testimony of Mr. Buchanan. And next, we're going to move on to Nicholas Barros. He is the sergeant of the Dighton Police Department. He explained that he was the one that Trooper Proctor called to ask him to call a tow company to go to Karen Reed's parents' house to get her vehicle and tow it to Canton. He said when he got to the Reed's home that Trooper Proctor was waiting outside of the home for him to get there. Furthermore, defense did not ask him any questions, so that's where his testimony ended. So next we are going to move on to the infamous Trooper Micheal Proctor. Micheal Proctor is a state police trooper for the state of Massachusetts. He was tasked to be the case officer for investigating this whole entire case. Upon being at the Reed's home, he said he noticed that there were large pieces of plastic missing from her vehicle's taillight. And he also explained that they went ahead and seized Karen's vehicle as well as her cell phone. And upon getting her cell phone, he put it into airplane mode. And he explained that the reason why they put it into airplane mode is because it prevents the individual from accessing their phone from another device like a computer and getting onto their cloud and deleting stuff. Now, he was the one that recovered pieces of plastic over at 34 Fairview on February 8th, the 11th, and 18th. Now, referencing back to the video footage of Karen backing out of the garage at John's house, and you see where she actually does hit John's vehicle, and you see the tire move on John's vehicle just slightly. They showed a picture of that and asked Micheal Proctor about the vehicle, and he said he didn't see any damage on John's vehicle. But just because there is no damage visibly seen at the moment doesn't mean there will be no damage. And I have been in that situation before when someone rear-ended me and the cop looked at my car and said there's no damage. And I said, clearly there's damage, but he said he didn't see it. And so he didn't report it on the police report. What happened to my car? Well, the paint on the bumper cracked eventually. So can't always take their word for there's no damage seen. He did say he knew the Albert family and agreed that he did have Julie Albert's phone number in his phone, and she had his in hers. The interesting thing about Micheal Proctor's testimony is we hear a lot about the text messages he was sending everybody. Of course, he agreed that he did not expect for his text messages to be read out to the world. So you're getting very raw footage of his text messages and the way he communicates with people and the lines he crosses. So we will be taking a look at several of those conversations throughout this video. One of his group chats, he was texting between him and some of his friends, and he was telling them that Karen killed John by hitting him with her vehicle. And I'm going to show you video footage of that and want you to pay attention to Judge Beverly because she was huffing quite a bit.
Friends, at the bottom of that page, 2537, is that correct?
That's correct.
And what are those responses?
Keep your voice up loud, please, Trooper Proctor. Jurors can't hear you.
Yes, Your Honor. Number ending in 5051. Got to be, I can only imagine what internal affairs of the BPD are trying to get out there. The second response, same number. She hot at least.
And turning your attention to the next page, 2538, at the top, if you could just read a series of responses from yourself, correct?
Yes, sir.
Read from those, sir.
Yep, so these came from me. From all accounts, he didn't do anything wrong. She's a whack job. CUNT.
Objection.
So don't spell it. You have to. So these are your words, Trooper Proctor.
Yes, Your Honor.
Go ahead and say.
Cunt. Yes, she's a babe. Weird Fall River accent, though. No ass.
And, sir, what is it you were referring to there, or why would you text that?
These were, from all accounts, he didn't do anything wrong. Is talking about the homeowner, Mr. Albert. I had mentioned the compelling evidence against Miss Reed at this point indicated that Mr. Albert had nothing to do with Mr. O'Keefe's death. The rest of the unprofessional and regrettable comments are something I'm not proud of, and I shouldn't have wrote in a private or any type of setting.
All I have to say about that is at least these messages didn't get deleted. Somehow they're able to secure these messages before Trooper Proctor was able to delete them. Of course, these awful comments continue, but next he starts insulting Mr. Iannetti.
Proctor, Trooper DeChico had sent you a photograph of my colleague, Mr. Iannetti, correct?
Yes.
Your Honor, because of the technical issue, I'm not going to display on the television. May I display this hard copy briefly?
Sure.
Thank you. You see that, gentleman?
I do, sir.
Is that the photograph that you received?
Yes.
Is that what you referred to on direct examination with Mr. Riley about receiving a photograph from Mr. Iannetti?
Correct.
And then your response was what?
I hate that man. I truly hate that man.
Actually, your response was, I'm going through his retarded client's phone right now, correct?
Yes, after the picture, sir, yes.
Who's the retarded client?
I was referring to Miss Reed, again, unprofessional language.
I'm asking who you were referring to.
Miss
I know
Reed.
You got an explanation. Who was it you were referring to as retarded?
Miss Reed.
Karen Reed, the woman sitting to my left.
Yes, sir.
The subject of your investigation as a professional, correct?
Yes, sir.
As an unbiased, objective investigator, the person that you were investigating, you referred to your bosses as retarded, correct?
Again, poor language on my part.
Poor language is one way to put it. Completely offensive is another way to put it.
Sergeant Yuri Buchanan here in the conversation with these text messages. He is Trooper Micheal Proctor's supervisor. Quite interesting is Mr. Buchanan puts a like to that comment. He doesn't condemn the behavior, like you can't be talking about clients that way. He puts a like to it. That's what we're dealing with here. What do you think of all these comments? Love to hear your comments. I see it as bias because it's not like he's putting down any of the other people here. He's not going, oh, well, Brian Albert's such an idiot. He didn't even notice this person was in his yard. It's just totally tearing apart Karen and her attorney. That is the end of the trial for today. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. We'll see you tomorrow for day 23.